Character Options is an independent toy company based in the United Kingdom, founded in 1991. It has been responsible for designing, manufacturing a large range of toys and games to the public, and the reason you are all here, of course, is Doctor Who. The licence for the range was obtained in 2005 and has continued into 2025 with no signs of slowing down. So sit back, set the coordinates to rewind the clock, relax and join us as we discuss character options over the last 20 years and take a peek behind the curtains of those early days and follow its journey until today with our special guests. So let's go. Looking straight ahead, one of my favourite characters is obviously the Cybermen, and again, quite easy to see that's a very popular 3-pack even today, and goes for exorbitant prices on eBay. Ed, can you share anything in relation to this particular set?
I remember debating about which wetsuit to copy, because there were actually several different wetsuits used as under suits for the costume. So there's a variety of different reference that we're looking at and puzzling through which one. We didn't know whether we were going to be able to get the tubes working on the outside of the joints. That was a big debate about whether to do sculpted in detail running down the arms, close to the arm, and just having the pivot point of the joint where so that it moved as well. There was the boxes. I remember model maker Tim making those, the chest boxes, doing beautiful work. He normally worked on much more straight line model making, so he was a modeling engineer. So he would tend to work on jobs at Design Works that you'd think of more like coffee machines and medical equipment and things like that, much more toleranced, and I remember him being so attentive to that job to try and replicate every bit of wire that was behind the screens, and doing a really fantastic job of creating them in miniature. And then the heads were sculpted by someone else. They're
it's a Frankenstein.
Yeah, a lot of the
collaboration
were very much collaborative efforts. It was rare for them to be the under the control of a single individual, because you sort of, when you look at the design of the Cybermen, they evolve, and it's sort of like the wake of a ship. As they go on, every iteration slightly changes what has something from the previous iteration, but there is always some ghost of that previous iteration still present. So actually, a lot of the time, when you're looking at how the faces evolved, and the helmets evolved, it's good to go from the standpoint of having one person do a head and then build on that to change the subsequent iterations as you're going along.
So was this one? Was this the head of these ones done digitally, or were they hand sculpted?
Hand sculpted,
because they're very much based on the Invasion style.
Yeah,
obviously with the ribbed tubing.
Yeah.
So was I'm just thinking, was that invasion head used and then just adapted, or was it completely from scratch again?
It would have been used and adapted. So we would have taken that one and resin molded it, and then taken castings from it, and then built on them.
So again, as we've discussed previous video, you're doing what the BBC would have done.
Yeah.
They would have taken the invasion helmets and just added and changed, and
Yeah, and as I said, I've got some of them here, like the 1-to-1 scale helmets in my Who Cave, and you can see the evolution and as you said, the similarities. There's that common theme in classic Who when you get to a certain point of Cybermen, apart from its 10th planet iteration, moving to the mid 80s Earthshock style Cybermen, you've got that evolution. There are a lot of similarities and key things that you recognise, and then when you obviously then transition to the new series, even just looking, you've still got that little bit of a hark back to some of the look with the eyes and the teardrop section and the slotted mouth and so forth. But again, then the obvious thing to point out that this is a one-figure design with repaint.
Yeah.
So making it a lot more viable, I guess, because this was a complete new. There was no part reusage with this at all, really, was there?
No. But then we knew as well with the Cybermen that going into it, Al had really wanted to do the Ages of Steel range and had very much wanted to try and represent all of them as best we could. And I mean, they of course they are one of the most iconic Doctor Who foes. Them and the Daleks have stayed the test of time for a reason. There is something very engaging with them. It's funny. I think that thing we were talking about, the evolution of design, it still runs true within the new series. I really thought that what happened to Cybermen in Jodie Whittaker's era was very interesting. I like the Time Lord Cybermen. From an aesthetic point of view, I thought they were amazing designs. I loved the echoes of the sort of Time Lord costume that was in them, and also they sort of reached a peak where there was something going on with them that was somewhere between all of the previous New Who iterations, the sort of the very Iron Man style ones that 12 faced against, and again the more iconic robot-esque Sibus earlier ones.
The Revenge of the Cyberman set, which we're going to see shortly. When I saw that on screen, I was like, oh my God. The new ones were literally on my desk this morning. I had a couple of packs of them and I was looking at them, and they've got they've got details on there you just didn't get it first time around. They've all got the gunmetal gun on top of the head, whether they're silver or black. They've all got mesh colored. So the mesh in the eyes is an anthracite. The mouth slit is black. The details on the chest are all updated, and
very sought after, or was very sought after up until the recent announcements of B&M range releasing these. Obviously, the paint apps, as you've already discussed, are going to be significantly better, probably, than the originals, with a lot more attention to detail, I guess, would be the...
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are fixed as well. So if you notice, every single one of those guys at the bottom left-hand side, as we're looking at it, the pipe sticks out.
Yep.
It's a bad assembly into the leg, and I thought it was degraded tooling, but when I got the tooling, I sort of said, we need to fix that. So we have. So it no longer. So that's one really obvious one, is that which is, technology's marched on, and the visual reference library that's available to us now is significantly better. So you can go back in and go, oh, that bit's gunmetal. It's not silver. Oh, that's not black. It's a sort of lovely anthracite.
It's the passage of time, isn't it? Really?
Sorry, the new release is going to have more gun detailing, isn't it? You were talking about.
It's next level. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking these are half painted, because the gun at the top of the head is gunmetal, which they all wear, even on the black leader. The eyes are not silver; they're sort of gunmetal anthracite, because they were a sort of aluminium mesh. The mouth slot is black, because obviously it goes into the helmet. That front panel on the front that's black there that you see is like a gunmetal, and the little circle that's black underneath is actually not black. It must have been a found part, but it's like a cooker knob, but it's in a sort of, it's weird. There's a couple of bits on the suit. The bit at the very top of the chest unit, there's 4 little prongs, and the dial are actually a sort of greeny silver color. So that's been changed, and then the Cyberman's got quite a lot of changes on it as well. And the chest unit, which has those 3 blocks of black on one side, they don't actually exist. Well, they exist, but they're not black. So yeah, a ton of different changes, and then the Cybermen themselves are much more silver than these ones are.
So I guess you've just pretty much confirmed that the set's going to be released as is there, but completely upscale.
But yeah, I mean, this set was leaked and talked about ages ago, and I've always said, once somebody's leaked it, which they did, then I'm happy to talk about it. Sorry, it was a question for Andrew, because I'd never noticed that they're almost hunched back, these guys. When you turn them sideways, they've got this...
Yeah, they've got a bit of a lump on their back.
Yeah.
I don't know what caused that. Must have been some padding or something.
Well, there's some kind of device on their back where where all the tubes come together.
Yeah, they connect together at a nodule at the back, don't they? But underneath that, it is a bit hunched. It is a bit strange.
Yeah. When you turn them round, they do have something under their... It's almost like it's under the suit at the back. I don't know whether it help put air into the suit, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, essentially they're wet suits anyway, aren't they? So...
Would they have had microphones like the Zygon? Would they have had a microphone unit, perhaps, or a transmitter unit on set that was housed there?
Maybe, but there was plenty of room inside the cyber helmet. It's literally just this very sort of... It is almost like a hunchback, and it is there. It's weird. When you see them on the screen, it 100% is there. I don't remember there being any issues with this one, was there? But I think you and I both like these Cybermen.
No.
They're an interesting little crossbreed, a hangover from the 60s in their design.
Yeah.
With the frog suit and the...
Well, they get a bit of stick because of the slightly more emotive kind of approach to things.
There's a great line. There's a great scene where Chris Robbie, who's the actor in the Cyber Leader, he does the Darth Vader thing at the time and puts the hands on the hips and...
Not emotional at all.
Classic pose. And the shaking of Tom Baker.
That's the one with Tom Baker's little speech, isn't it, about the tin pot soldiers and talking about the galaxy kind of thing. But it's not a great episode, is it? It's not known for being a good Cyberman episode.
It's one of my favorites just because it's a season 12. The Vogons, in fairness, didn't do it any help, but
no.
That's all right. They can spend the budget on making those Cybermen look like they did.
That's the one with where the Cyberman attacks Sarah Jane, isn't it? Liz Sladen has to use it as a puppet and attack herself like this with her arm inside it.
That's called good acting.
And it's really good. There's a lot of stuff like the little vein thing that there was the in camera, they painted it with that reflective paint and it kind of glows as it, and then the idea of sending her back through the transmat to sort of strip the poison out of
That's actually that's very much a Star Trek Next Generation concept. They would utilize that, didn't they? Where they'd use that transporter to separate
the matter
diseases,
from
illnesses, or things.
Yeah. In fact,
Fair to say, Andrew, that the Cybermen was a fun little project for you to do at the time.
I think any Cyberman was a fun project to do at the time.
I didn't realise you did all of them.
I didn't do the 10th Planet one. I did the head for it, but not the body.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did Silver Nemesis.
Was that a combination of multiple people doing the Silver Nemesis?
Yeah.
I think when we spoke to Ed about that.
It did use the head and the chest unit from Earthshot with a slight change to the head because they've got a slight different detail.
Yeah.
On there, but I didn't do the body for that one.
No, and I think that's part of the evolution of the character line of the Cybermen as they've been designed. I think there were times when you've got elements of the previous into the next, like the series. And I think when we discussed with Ed, I think the Silver Nemesis Cyberman was a contribution of multiple people to put that one together. I think, but yeah, as I said, Revenge Cybermen is people might hang it on their rubber suits and the pipes coming out, but it was a start of that change to where we ended up with the Earthshock style, which was the next one. So those two are probably my favourite. And then obviously there's another bank of figures here I have. Excuse the one of the Cybermen on the top looks a little bit wider than the other. It's just my cropping and adding. But again, we have our Silver Nemesis, which we've just sort of briefly discussed.
Loved those Cybermen. My second favourite Cybermen, the Nemesis ones.
Love them so much. I'm looking at one standing up life size in front of me with his gun, which is pretty cool. So, and then obviously we've got the Anthony Ainley. Oh, sorry. Now, in this chat we had with Ed, I got corrected. I'm saying it's the Master, but I got told it's not technically the Master.
No, it's Chameleon.
It's Chameleon.
It's Chameleon. Well, you could argue it is Chameleon, but it was the Master channeling himself through Chameleon. So,
correct. So I'll just say it's the Master. So there you go.
Wasn't there a silver version of that made, El, or am I thinking of?
There was a silver prototype made, but again, I think that one got rejected, I believe, and I can't remember why, but I think it was because the argument was it kind of again was a moment in time because it was a transition between Chameleon and the Master. So,
all right, we've got to get over your moment in time obsession because everyone wanted to see, would love to see the silver.
Maybe you could release a moment in time range.
Moment in time pack.
In time.
And then the Davo figure, was that the first time he was with the hat?
Yes, no hat in 11th. That was the first time with the hat.
So I was correct. Oh, there we go. The first time for everything.
And the different trousers, or is that the original trousers?
No, that's still the right trousers.
I think it was just a different head sculpt. Andrew, did you do that one? Or
I didn't do that one. No, that was Alex Down who did that one.
Okay. And the Master head, who sculpted that?
I did the Master or Chameleon head, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we'll 50-50 vote on that one. So, and then obviously, and then obviously off side to we've got the Peter Davidson and Tom Baker in the outfits, and obviously there's one thing that I've already brought up with Ed was the canine colour. Was that just a oversight, or was it just something that the angle of the photo or something? Because obviously that's the new series colour canine versus probably the more traditional darker grey that was released, I think, later on in a B&M set.
Yeah, is that the canine we released with that figure?
Yeah, so the canine and Tom set, the canine in that set was the more silver, like the newer series style canine colour.
Probably just a mistake, because I know we got quite finicky about canine at one point. Well, I did, but
because as far as I know, there's only been that one canine design, and it's had a repaint with the B&M set with the Tom.
There is one that's got the. So there was the motorized canine, and then there was the non-motorized canine.
Yeah.
but the control panel on his back, there's a lower version and a higher version, I think. And the visor at the front there's a 5-bar version and a 4-bar version.
Now you're going to get me looking.
Is there one with the panel pushed down, or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. The back panel is more recessed on. I think
Does the side come off? The side comes off canine, doesn't it? One of them.
Yeah.
On the School Reunion version, which is
and you push the control panel down.
Well, the issue is that the School Reunion version is essentially the progenitor of all the K9s, because which is possibly where the error was made. But I know he was, because everyone assumes he's metallic, but he started off as a sort of flat,
it's
grey color, I think.
Yeah, it's not metal. It's not metallic in the process of metal flakes being in the paint.
Yeah. The Professor Marius version is, I think, grey.
Yeah, and that was a B&M set, I think, Al, that was released quite some time ago. It was given a more 70s accurate paint job.
Yeah, so that's that one. That's the Marius version.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, K9.
That was the Marius version.
It's still attached.
See, look at the colour of that computer screen. That just beautiful, that is.
Very nice. Yeah.
What about the difference in colours between the Tom Baker season 18 and the Peter Davison? Because they are the different lighting.
Is it photography and it's just slightly?
I think it's the lighting. I think they
both look quite different on the different lighting, don't they? That shows how.
One's more of a brightly lit front-on shot, and the other one's taken from an angle. So
I do remember wasn't redone until the 13th set.
Yeah, when we painted that originally, I think I found photographs of the actual costume on the different lighting, so I was copying those colours, and then you wanted to make it more like it looked in the TV show, didn't you? So we ended up muting them down because they look really bright.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And also we obviously we didn't do the, because in theatre, you'll be able to tell me. Tom dies, as I remember it. Sorry, that sounds terrible. But the Fourth Doctor dies falling off the radar dish with his boots on.
Yes.
Peter Davidson walks into the TARDIS with the +4s and the shoes on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they were actually Tom's boots. They weren't the costume department's boots, they were Tom's.
He says, no one's touching my boots.
He's taken them with him.
So he took the boots with him. Because I think the only other time he has the +4s is in the Leisure Hive, isn't it? Right at the beginning.
Was that the stocking design? The
stockings,
design, yeah.
And then he ditches them and he has the boots.
No, he had them in. No, they were in shoes, I think, in State of Decay.
Yeah, it's funny we mentioned this because one of my videos I had, not to do with our conversations, but it was just a tour of the Who Cave, and someone had freeze framed the figures I had standing on and said, "That's incorrect. He's got the wrong shoes on," etc., and made it. No, Shane.
Well, it's interesting because for the further iteration of, obviously it was 11 Doctors, 13 Doctors, and then there would have been a further version. We had different versions of a lot of the Doctors. We had McCoy in his duffel coat and various other things, but we did sculpt. I think, Andrew, that's right, isn't it? We did do a set of different lower legs for the season 18. Tom was one of the variants that we did. So that disappeared into the ether, never to be seen again.
Yeah, I'm looking at pics now. So socks and shoes for Leisure Hive and State of Decay. Rest of it was boots, which makes me wonder with the filming schedule which was filmed when. State of Decay may have been filmed a bit earlier. I think it was filmed even before Full Circle, because that was Adric's. State of Decay was Matthew Waterhouse's first episode he filmed.
Yes, he just stowed away after.
It's feasible when Tom got to filming full circle, he said, "Bugger this, I'm wearing boots."
Yes.
And then just kept them all on for the rest, and then took them with him at the end, and then that's why Peter Davison and Castrovelva had to switch to these shoes, which they make a big point of, putting the shoe down in Castrovelva as he's marking his map way through the TARDIS.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't probably have noticed it had they not actually done that.
It was an interesting costume variant that kind of just, it's funny, it went by the wayside, I suppose. But looking back at the time, I think I was sort of nonplussed about I was so used to seeing the Fourth Doctor in. But that whole costume has some real weird oddities. The hat with the sort of strange ribbon around it, and it was almost a bit pork pie. And he clearly didn't like that very much because he wore it and then it kind of got ditched again. It was shoved in a pocket.
Yeah, he ditched the hat. There was also a waistcoat that got ditched as well. There was a done-up waistcoat, a maroon waistcoat that he got rid of that.
By the time you get to Keeper of Draken and Logopolis, he's kind of managed it into his version of the costume.
And I think
the only conciliatory thing he did was kept the red question marks on the collars.
Yeah, I think he tried to tuck them in as much as he could, but it was one of John Nathan Turner's bugbears, and no, collars out. It's like,
Yeah, well, speaking of Keeper of Draken, ta-da, here's one I prepared earlier. And topic of conversation, the Crispy Master. There he is.
It is. The one I like better, the Peter, not the Peter Platt one, it's
Peter Pratt.
Yeah, who was the other, who was the one that came along afterwards, who's doing all the audios, that has the melodious voice.
Come on, John.
Jeffrey Beavers.
Jeffrey Beavers, that's it. Jeffrey Beavers. The Melker, the Source Manipulator, all the great things, and the sort of the it's weird that we went through. I find it quite hard looking back on these because the sculpts were fantastic, but somewhere in the process of making the figures, I don't know whether we got a bit blasé about stuff, but you look at that Tom and I know versus the sculpt. That does not do it justice, because my brief to Andrew and Ed, I think at the time, was I wanted him to look quite gaunt, because at that sort of final season he looked quite drawn and he had a very particular look. So it was
but yeah, and then obviously the Rotocast clock TARDIS.
Are those the clock and the Melker, are they in this scale, or should they maybe have been a slightly bit larger, or was that looked into?
The clock, I think, is about right. The Melker, I think, is undersized, because but then it was a costume, so
so it had to have an actor in it.
There's pictures of the guy walking around. I mean, it is a TARDIS. It's the only
How do you
time.
even get into that? You've just got to go through the butt.
Well, it's a dimensional gateway, so who knows how they. I think
the magic of television.
There's one bit where he moves behind it, and I think it kind of.
Yeah.
I love that Melker statue. I just think it's one of my favorite stories. Anyway, that whole kind of last two episodes. But
you could have done it with red glowing eyes, Al, with the actual little button on the back and that lit up.
Yeah, he was
like
rotocast, unfortunately. So Was that, did you sculpt any? You did the Master, I think, didn't you? But
I didn't do that head for the Master. I did the
no,
original.
you did the original one, I think.
Yeah, the whole costume for the original one, and then that reuses the costume, but a new head, doesn't it?
Yeah. Did you do the Melker?
I didn't know.
No.
It was still a good representation set to have. I know that, in hindsight, technology's improved drastically now, and obviously if this set was to be remade again, there would be some, differences and so forth. But
again, I remember a lot of discussions about Crispy Master, because Crispy Master, when you go back to that story, he spends the whole time in shadow. Working out what was actually going on with that figure was next to impossible. So in the end, we just sort of took a we'll just do we'll do an interpretation because it's all we can do. We couldn't really work out what was going on with this cloak, and it was pretty difficult to see the details of his face. There's only a few shots that where it's really clear, because you've got to bear in mind as well, if you're screen grabbing from say a Blu-ray release of Pertwee era, where all of the location filming was actually physical film stock, you've got a much higher definition than broadcast beta cam, which is what the Tom Baker stories were filmed on. So there's a limit to how much upscaling can occur.
Well, this particular master, Jeffrey Beavers, there wasn't even any publicity pics done of him. There's no official photos.
No.
It's purely what's off a video screen grab.
Yeah.
And
another masterful sculpt by Mr. Teal, who just managed to sprinkle some magic on it and fill in the details.
Is the cloak identical to the Assassin Master? I never looked. Or was it changed? Was it?
No, I think it's the same. It's just not got the seal.
Yeah.
And the sash of Rassilon and I think there's a face, the paint app on the face was a little bit different.
Well, it's different face. This is a different actor. So
but ultimately, that it was what probably would Al call the lack of action figure.
Yeah, that's it. These figures that have large cloaks or structural elements of the clothes that are like rigid bells of plastic, so you can wiggle the legs as much as you like underneath it. Doesn't make any difference to the actual position, the pose that you can put the figure in.
This is actually technically a two TARDIS 2-pack.
Well,
yes.
Yes.
So the original ideas behind this set, mate, is there anything you can share about discussions? And obviously I can see that the Tom Baker, is that reusage of some of the Davidson previous release outfit?
Yes, and with intentionally so, that we would it was sculpted with that dual usage in mind. Nice to get that season 18 look again with the without the coat on. It's
and did you ever think you'd be sculpting a Melka?
No, I do remember actually the Melka being quite tricky in terms of getting the reference, because Melka's very asymmetrical. The asymmetrical head, that sort of band that sweeps down, and seeing exactly what that does from different angles, finding all the different angles was really tricky. I seem to remember there's some sort of some shots of it sort of wandering through foliage and going through ages trying to pause at exactly the right time as it passes by to get a decent profile view of it.
And I think a bit of trivia, was it the actor inside Melka? Was that the chap who played Tony Stamp in The Bill?
God, I don't know that. That's deep lore you're bringing in now.
Yeah, I think I may be right. Someone may correct me on that, but because I know he played the Marshmen and a few other creatures in Who. But anyway, moving along, and the TARDIS, the clock.
Indeed, yeah. I remember that again being produced, and it's another one of those things when you look at the devices and the accessories. sometimes they're deceptively simple, and you almost take them for granted as being, or as an accessory, as just part of the thing. You spend an extraordinary amount of time getting these photographs as best we can, working out the proportions of the face and all of the various elements. It's not. It's always a labour of love to produce those accessories.
Going to something else that was quite interesting to see. I never thought I would see a Drashig. And again, we've had some offline chats about this, Al, but this wasn't actually done through DesignWorks. That, I think the Omega or the Auton, was that done through DesignWorks, Andrew? And then
the Omega wasn't. I don't remember the Omega. I think the Auton, doesn't that reuse a body?
Correct.
I think the Omega might have been done by Gentle Giants,
I think it was. Yeah.
Because there was a discussion about the underbody and whether the underbody what it should be. Should it just be, because I think the assumption was everybody, he probably was in a body stocking and whatever, and I was kind of like, well, no, his underbody should reflect the plate. In fact, I remember doing a sketch of how I wanted the underbody armor sort of plates to work and sending it to somebody. So I think it must have been Gentle Giants.
I think it is. So it's a whole new sculpt underneath the cloak.
Yeah, it is. I've just had a look at it.
It would have been funnier if you put Perry's body underneath it or something.
Surprise!
Would have been a surprise for people.
But it is a very detailed sculpt underneath, and it is something that I haven't seen replicated. So yeah, you're right. It was probably.
It is a great figure. It worked really well with that material. I mean, it's not 100% accurate in any way to the fabric as seen on screen, but the glittery fabric, which I don't think we'd even be able to use nowadays, was
it's an interpretation, and it's a good.
I suppose at least you can move the figure around, because in the master, the cloaked master is really rigid, isn't it? You can't
Big was done by Ali Coleman, who I think also did he did a couple of big bits for me. He did Morpheus. So that I think Ali did the Drashig and Ali did the
Fendel.
The Fendeline. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, and we've already and we've discussed this. I think the 10th Planet Cybermen, which was in this pack. Andrew, I think you said you did the head for this one.
Yeah, I did the head. I did the head, and I tried to base it on the photographs that were. It's quite a famous photograph, isn't it? Where he's looking up. It's a good close up of it. So it's mainly that, but I think the first version I did, you wanted it to look a little bit more skeletal underneath, didn't you? Almost like a corpse underneath it. So he was hollowed out in the cheeks, and the eyes were sunken in a little bit more. But the first version was more of a human.
Yes, I think that's right. Because and it's still a great figure, that one. It's amazing. Again, you look at the behind the scenes shots, and the makeup ladies are standing in polystyrene snow, and they're keeping the cyber helmet on with literally sellotape. You can see it. In fact, it's visible in some shots, but it's
and then we have our Roboman and obviously the standard 60s Dalek with the flamethrower. Now that Roboman, was that body taken from something or reused later on?
It was reused. Sorry, we got the coloration, by the way, completely wrong on the Cyberman. I didn't realize years later.
Well, there was a re-release of it which had a slightly different coloured face.
Well, there was a re-release, but there's also a sketch from the lady. I think it's the lady that drew.
Andrew Reid.
Yeah, and if you look at the sketch, it's completely different. So the trousers, which you can sort of see, are a sort of pink. They're transparent, but they have a very light pink stripe running through them. The hands were surgical gloves, so again, you can see the real hands through them. But the bands going around the legs and the knees and the arms are actually a sort of coppery color. So we got it quite well, at least in the sketch they were, and you can only assume they kind of, if they carried it to the stripy trousers, which they seem to have then.
This one of those occasions where, you know, I think I was going to say, you can't do, in terms of your career, can't professionally, as much as I'd like to be responsible for every single figure in the range, I couldn't be. And we've gone through, you know, it's gone through periods where Al has worked on things with other people. So there was in the New Who era, there was the whole wave that was the Impossible Astronaut. There was a lot of figures in that wave that I didn't have anything to do with. Uncle, the girl in the spacesuit, etc., etc. And the Drashig was one. But what is wonderful is that when that turns up, that is as much an exciting surprise for me as it is for anyone else. So I kind of, you know, I got as much of a thrill about it.
And again, it takes you back to watching Carnival of Monsters and that iconic shot of it, you know, breaching. Yeah, you know, breaching the out, and it's just it's a bit of a laugh. And you know, when I first got it and went, oh my god, it's actually a puppet.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but again, another classic figure in amongst that being Omega. So
yes,
hang on, I've got a Drashig. When that first came out, I was just mind blown. I'm like, anything from Classic Who is now possible. I have a Drashig hand puppet. Anything is now on the cards.
I know. It's again, I think I've commented, it's been amazing that like some of the stuff that was produced, I never thought I'd ever see. And this period of time, you know, sort of between 2009 and 2013, there was just a massive wave as we've been just skipping through. And again, this is not an exhaustive look at every single figure. This is more of a reminiscent look back at some of the interesting stories about some of the figures produced and stories shared. So, but again, the Omega figure, can you tell us much about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it would be distinctive to people who are fans of and know the range intimately, in that it's one of the very few ones that use soft goods, and again, you know, we were joking about it earlier, but did not want to be an inarticulation figure. We wanted it to have the power and presence without just being a static figure. So you can think about any number of other things that we didn't do as soft goods robes. You know, the master, talking about the demons earlier, the master in his ceremonial robes from that story, and
I think there's two camps when it comes to collectors. You either want cloth or you want PVC.
Well, I suppose the PVC gives you that, you know, solid, rigid look from the episode at a glance, but for posability, usability, for people that like to do that sort of thing, the Omega obviously is more representative of the story, I think.
My argument is that cloth is real scale. It's not reduced down into fine little. It's life size scale. So that's when it doesn't quite relate when you're making something at 1/6 or 1/12 or 1/13.
Yeah, like the Big Chief.
That's real scale product. But I think for the Omega it works because you had to have that glittery robe that he has, and I don't think you could have replicated that.
No.
And I think it's the sculptural elements as well, the mask, the chest plate are things that sell it. I think if that material was having to do all the heavy lifting in terms of the appeal of the figure, I think you'd probably be right, Shane, that I wouldn't.
Yeah, it just sort of adds the flavour to the figure, I think. And courtesy removable head.
I love the little neck platform.
Yeah, but another episode that I've watched over and over again. Moving across quickly to the Robomen or Roboman.
Yeah, Roboman was an interesting one because you know, that's a case where you're trying to find. We knew that that would be an adaptation of an existing figure, so you're trying to find the best fit. And I remember there was very few images of it, and a lot of it was made up.
Bit of poetic license.
Yeah.
A chat about the Auton. So that again, as we mentioned earlier, was the Captain Jack body.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was obviously some neckerchief. What are we going to call it? Not ascot quite as much, but the cloth up there by the throat. But that actual face sculpt is so nice when it comes to that Auton of that era.
Sarah Robinson did that one. Someone I'll talk about a little bit more when we get onto Leela. Again, one of the unsung heroes of the range.
And we're going to segue into a couple of our female characters. Again, Perry we've already discussed, and then obviously we have Leela in her. And obviously they're completely different sculpts, is that correct? The Leela and Perry? There's no part reusage in either of them, is there?
No, Perry was done... Sorry, Leela was done like that because articulation-wise, I was insistent that we didn't want to have a horrible hip joint and that she had lovely legs and therefore we should have a swivel hip joint, which means that her legs do and can detach slightly easily. But I thought it was important to get the sort of... It helped the articulation being right, and it helped the sort of... If she had an upper thigh swivel joint, it would have just looked horrible. So,
And then Shura's Jack, that body looks very similar to something I've seen before. Is that? But it's all about part reusage and trying to be smart with these things, as we've previously discussed.
And the lovely Perry figure as well, which is cool.
Yeah, no, that's good. And obviously
that's the alternate shirt, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you do that one?
No, I didn't. No, I think that
was. Did you do Leela?
I didn't. I think that was Sarah,
and
I think she might have done the Perry top as well.
The Leela did have different hairstyles. I remember at least the second iteration of Leela had the ponytail at one point.
Yeah, was that in the Fendale set?
Yeah, she had the pulled back.
Yeah,
or a bun or something.
Yeah.
The
Face of Evil, didn't it came in two variations, the standard card, and then there was one with Louise Jamieson's autograph in behind.
That's possible.
Limited to, I can't remember how many they were limited to, but and then
we should re-release that figure. It's pretty cool.
It's been a while.
I didn't want to push the boat.
But then obviously we had our Sontaran in the middle, and I thought I'd just throw straight to these sets here, where we obviously have the a nice bit of rotor casting there, being able to be duplicated a couple of times. Obviously the Sontaran figure, essentially, who did that figure? Is that you, Andrew, or
the Sontaran? Yes.
Yeah.
Both versions of those. I did those.
I think it's sort of worth saying that those pods are often held up. People will go, but you did those. Why can't we have X, Y, and Z, which is much less plastic and therefore, surely much cheaper to produce? But it's not simply about the volume of material used within a product. It's how that manufacturing process takes place. So the casting method for producing those pods, rotational casting, the actual mold making is so much cheaper than injection molding, and that's what makes something like that viable. And that's why you have, that's why Sill ended up the way that Sill did, because there were if you need to cut cost from somewhere, then making Sil's base a rotational casting rather than an injection molding out of 3 or 4 pieces makes a massive difference to that budget. So then you can have some other nice thing that's nice to have somewhere else in the range, because you save money doing that. But you have to look at those again within the context of saying, yes, you can tell we're very much at the height of the range's success when you're looking at that kind of accessory effectively.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm looking at those now across on the shelf. I've actually got the 2 originals still sealed in their box, but combined with the backdrop in the box, and I actually light them from above, and they look quite good. Shane's smirking down there.
I'm smirking because Ed's been to Lucasfilm and Mark's got him in his boxes.
It's got a different helmet and a different head.
Yep.
And a different gun.
Different hands.
Some of the armor is different.
His lower legs are different,
and
but they're all based on the same core body.
Yeah.
The hands were different because I think Steyr has 3 fingers.
Yeah.
Others have 5.
Is it
For
5?
clone species, they're not identical.
And Lynx has 3. One of them has 3, and one has 5.
I think Lynx has got the 3. Looking how he's grabbing that helmet at the minute.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of my favourite figures.
It's one of my favourite figures. What they did to the Sontarans is absolutely freaking criminal.
I think every iteration of the Sontarans just got worse.
Absolutely criminal.
Are we talking about the comedy Sontaran now?
I agree. There was such a cool figure. Then they put Store, who was in the Invasion of Time story.
Just looking at their masks, the first one is the scariest to me.
Yeah,
that's the best head, and then after that, they do get progressively.
It's interesting. I think it kept getting marked when the helmet was being put on and off. So as the story progresses, the Time Warrior, he actually gets darker and darker.
Again, Shane, let's have a look.
I printed out. Hang on, let me get that out. Putting the helmet on and off, I start getting scuffing on the nose.
Well, he shouldn't have such a big nose.
And you see that in the episodes that he does.
Oh well, maybe I won't fix it if it's legit. It happened in the story. It's more accurate.
But I'm with Andrew on that one. I mean, I think the Sontaran figure just is one of the. It's just.
Yeah, he is pretty cool. And,
I think because it's from 2. The Time Warrior is a brilliant story.
Was it the same actor?
It
Was it Kevin Lindsay?
It was Kevin Lindsay in the first 2.
Yeah,
but he had a heart condition.
Yeah.
And then Store in Invasion of Time was played by somebody different.
Yeah, different actor. Yeah,
Doctor.
Kevin only did those 2.
I will get your doctor.
Very much an eyebrows actor. He was all like.
Yeah, he just kind of thunders around the place, sort of smashing deck chairs in.
Tripping over things. Another OH&S nightmare. God, you wouldn't get that happening today, would you?
No.
Yep. Oh, and the ship there was again another Ali Coleman special. So that was the Sontaran ship was Ali Coleman who did that one for me. And it's weird in the show. You'll notice that the ship isn't actually round. It's slightly misshapen, and whether that happened. So we added all this extra detail that wasn't in the the original one. In fact, so that flange does appear in the Time Warrior, but you don't see it in the Sontaran.
No,
it's sort of hidden by rocks, or it wasn't there. But yeah, it's cool.
No,
my go-to with the female characters was always Sarah, because she just had this uncanny gift of bringing out the feminine quality in the sculpts, and so she was responsible for a lot of the of the female sculpts, going back to Donna and some of the earlier Sarah Jane. She did all of the Sarah Janes, and I found it's quite sort of. It's one of those slightly odd things that I found I was looking through some old memory cards the other day, and I found the photographs that I'd taken of Elizabeth Sladen. I went down to, while they were filming Sarah Jane Adventures, to get some additional reference because they hadn't done a lot of studio shooting, and we wanted some good reference for the head sculpt, and she was just the most staggeringly lovely person. I'd had a nightmare journey down there. There was lots of problems on the M4, and I'd arrived about an hour later than I was supposed to through no fault of mine, just taking an extraordinarily long time. And she just invited me into a trailer and sort of said, "Have you eaten?" And I was like, "No." She went and got me food. She got me. I remember I had chili, and I sat and talked to her, and talked to her about how much I had completely loved her adventures, and was really pleased for the opportunity to do her sculpt for Sarah Jane Adventures. And how fantastic it was that she got, because I was one of the few people who watched and liked K9 and Company. So, there was a sort of, I felt very connected to her character, and just going back and looking at those photographs the other day, thinking how incredibly sad it is that she isn't still with us.
So was that a pretty big fanboy moment for you then? Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You have to be, in terms of the job, I think it's very important to have a strong degree of empathy for whatever it is you're working on, because you have to be empathetic. You have to get into the head of what you're sculpting, what license you're representing, because if you fail at that, then you're gonna miss something vital in what makes people love that thing. So I always, sort of say, even with something like the Teletubbies, you have to kind of find your inner Teletubby and really appreciate the difference between the four of them, because most people will go, "They're all the same, aren't they?" And it's like, no, they're not.
They're all the same. They just got different things on their heads.
They're all completely different, but without a shadow of a doubt, I absolutely adored Elizabeth Sladen. She was a lovely human being to be around. She was every bit as lovely as she appears to be, and that was a fantastic moment for me to spend some time. I had one of my dearest friends. We had an absolutely fantastic day out. That was the first time I met Tom Baker. He was doing a signing there, and it was an event to celebrate Cybermen, and they had a live action scene vignette with the Brigadier, which they titled excuse me, A Walk in the Woods, and essentially the brig is going for a walk in the woods and is attacked by a load of Cybermen and defeats them. And it was absolutely, and it had pyrotechnics and guns and everything, and it was utterly fantastic. And of course there was the Longleat exhibition there as well. So and we stopped back on the way back to London in at the Demon's pub and had supper there, because that village is on the was between Longleat and the M4.
Oh.
People photograph the exhibits all the time, and contemporary Doctor Who exhibitions there's a wealth of fantastic imagery that people have taken of those exhibitions, but often they're very poorly signed in terms of being able to Google them, because they don't have them meta tags for the internet, so it's not what it actually isn't tagged. It will just appear on somebody's Instagram account. And,
yeah, exactly. They just show up everywhere.
And I've found sort of recently that actually doing Google Lens searches produces kind of better results than Googling the thing you want to see, because that will literally scrape off visually similar imagery. So if I am sort of stuck in that way, then I will take an image that I've got from Tragical History Tour, which might be a passable but not brilliant image, drop it onto Lens and see what that brings up. And sometimes it brings up some really good things.
Seeds of Doom set.
That looks so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that. Seed pods, swords.
Yeah. Correct.
It's accessories galore with that
I
set.
know.
Lovely textured jacket.
Does that have a diorama background in there as well? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think there was a diorama behind it.
I didn't keep all that. I just viewed it as packaging. I wish I did now.
No, I've still got mine in the box. I just haven't been able to take myself to take that one out because I've only got one of those. And then obviously we've got Pyramids of Mars. The mummies were already done previously, but not with the gold banding.
Yes.
And then Sutek with the doggy head. That was the first. Then the Priory set was done later, I think.
Yes, this was Pyramids of Mars collector set, as opposed to the Priory collector set, which came
and then we obviously have the Davros and Destroyed Dalek from Remembrance set as well.
Why did I put him in the inside of the Dalek spaceship? Which clearly that's madness.
That's where Davros was, but not the Destroyed Dalek.
Not the Destroyed Dalek, no.
He beamed him up to the ship.
That Destroyed Dalek's the only one out of that set now that hasn't been re-released out of all the Remembrance figures, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You managed to do the Emperor, and you did the talking gunner, and then all the other variants. So
it probably never will be.
That will become the Holy Grail item. Used to be Davros, but now it'll be that one.
Yeah, well, now we've had our Davros re-release. So, and then finally, guys, this is sort of where we'll pause, because obviously after this sets, we sort of almost went into that 50th anniversary territory. So again, we've already discussed the Fendel image of Fendel, and I think it's this big fella. So, and again,
just absolutely one of my favourite stories on it. I've always made no bones about it. Most of the classic stuff was based on stuff I loved. And
I know this is Al's love list, isn't it? The entire range.
That giant Fendeline slopping through wallpaper paste as it comes down the corridor towards you was just utterly terrifying. I still love that bit of Tom Baker in the forest and that sort of bass note of kind of like no. And he's standing there frozen, and he's like, "Move, legs, move!" It's just absolutely brilliant.
A cracker of a story.
That's
and a
one
great
of
figure.
That's one of the best stories, or the end of the good stories. The way I used to view it, I'll still do a bit with Tom until the Graham era.
What was great was the ability to blend supernatural with a little bit of pseudoscience, but without it being silly. if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you pair that story with Fang Rock, and there's two absolute diamonds, absolute gems, and then it's surrounded by mediocre rest of 15, in my opinion. So, the Fenderline was just a magnificent concept.
Pretty horrific story. I mean, you've got possession, you've got
trying to shoot himself.
Well, it's the talons of Weng Chiang's Sigma beam, isn't it? If they keep using the scanner, they're going to blow up the Earth. You got the prehistoric skull with the devil's pentagram. You've got a guy who basically says, I need to escape, and the doctor goes, "Oh, here you are," and he hands him a gun, and 2 seconds later you hear a gunshot. You're literally like, whoa.
As we've already discussed, this was a really the heyday for classic Who figure collectors. This was where they were getting pumped out a dime a dozen or appeared so at the time. They were just constantly, we were getting that, the nostalgic wave was coming out, courtesy of Al and his favourite picks, which was great because they're my favourite picks as well. So,
thankfully, Andrew and I have always been 100% aligned on who the best Doctor was, and I've quite often been, and still to this day, I get corrected by him. So I remember, I always love the same thing about Andrew, which is he'll always push back if he thinks something's not right, and not many other people do that. So when he kind of says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" It's kind of like, "Well, do I want to do that? Maybe I don't."
Yeah, I never say you don't want to do that. It's more, are you sure you want to do that?
I'm sure you want to.
And that makes you
sit down and think, shall we?
Which
I think it's a great idea, but
which has evolved into, I understand why you might think that. Which is basically code for, but you're wrong, and I'm trying to tell you in a really nice way.
It's called passive aggressive, isn't it? Passive aggressive reverse psychology. He's quite the psychologist, Andrew.
Master of that. Yeah, but no, we were always kind of, so I think we kind of fed off. Even to this day, I think I've been over at Design Works. I don't often go over there because I know I'll just be stuck there for like an hour and a half chatting because I get so distracted. But when you find a kindred spirit that kind of likes the exact things that you do. I remember seeing him doing the Robots of Death and just being like, "Oh my god, literally one of my favorite stories." That figure.
That's one of my favorite figures as well. The Robots of Death, the Sontaran, and the Earthshock Cyberman. They're in my top 3.
Yeah, and I think
doing those sculpts, they were the most fun.
And weirdly, I think they came out as the best figures because we took so much care you took the care on the sculpting, and I actually paid attention on the sort of production side.
This is the one that probably almost means the most to me, because I don't know if I have mentioned this before, but City of Death is my favourite Doctor Who story. I absolutely
nothing to do with Lucasfilm with City of Death, was it? No, there wasn't. It's okay.
There's nothing to do with it. Yes, of course there was, because Scarlioni, Scaroth himself.
Yes, General Veers.
So be careful what you jest about, Shane.
General Veers, prepare your man.
It's General Veers, and also in Last Crusade. So
the dodgy bugger. He always plays bad guys.
He says, but he's incredibly nice in person.
So, what sort of involvement did you have with this set, Ed? Did you have much involvement?
Oh God, I mean, it's another Andy Teal sculpt. Beautiful Andy Teal sculpt. Slight compromise. I think it's an adapted version of the Leicester body from Primeval.
Yeah.
That we knew that was going to happen. Until that point, it was the only firearm that had been in the range, the pistol.
No, the Assassin Master had one.
Oh, did he? I did too. There's days I'm not future. That's a future weapon. I meant
sort of
Oh,
contemporary.
okay. Future weapons don't count. Okay.
Because it's a P-38, so it was a you know, classic thing. Having the Mona Lisa and being able to do that, I utterly loved.
Yes, I was going to say about that because is that it's still set up with so if you put a UV light onto it, I think it reveals this is a fake, which is just a nice little touch to have. And again, I guess if you're saying this is one of your favorite, episodes, then to be able to be part and see this thing come to life would have been quite good. Now, the Tom Baker figure, was that an adaptation or some slight changes from an original figure?
Yeah, that's a bit of a compromise.
Andy sculpted their heads for Scaroth and
Daggerath.
Yeah, and that's good how you can do the interchangeable head.
That's it.
I think we're going to move through to. I've got a couple more slides to look at. Obviously, the classic range is so big that it's just so hard, as we've worked out, it was so hard to cover it. We had 5 of us discussing the classic range in our first video, and now we've just got Ed, and we're still running out of time. We're only really covering up to just before the 50th anniversary, and that in itself is going to be an interesting time for character and all involved in that process. Was this the first time? So obviously, this is Davros, and obviously a different form from traditionally that we looked at from those 4 packs. So this would have been the first iteration of putting this together. So was there any challenges or anything with putting? Obviously, got a Dalek base, but the whole top end of with the dome and the Davros structure, is there? How was that all sort of getting that all together?
No, that was it. It was pretty nice and straightforward because obviously we had all the CAD already for the Daleks, so we sort of let the dome proportions dictate the sculpt inside. I mean, you could have potentially had a bit of mismatch there because you're obviously dealing with digital technique to create the body of the Dalek and the dome, and then it's physical sculpting for the inside. So much the best idea to do the dome first, and then you ensure that your sculpt can fit in it, and will be right. Everyone had fun with destroyed Dalek. That's really nice. Always when you get to see what's inside them.
Yeah, and the claw that comes out.
Yeah.
No, that's a good
that we did to be able to wrap around McCoy's neck as well.
Yeah.
No, good sets. And then the final slide I have for us to have a quick look at today, again on those themes of sets with multis, and then one that of interest to me, which I quite like, was the image of the Fendal, and obviously here he is. Quite a
number of those. If we're getting that, anything's on the table moments.
Yeah. Anything you want to talk to us about these sets, mate?
Yeah, the Mechanoid was one of the model makers in the workshop who would not normally work on toys, not normally work on a Doctor Who product. Did beautiful CAD for that. Absolutely fantastic. I really liked the doing the face reveal on the Cyberman. That was I think that was an interesting one. I think that might have caused a bit of debate about whether we should do that. And the sort of it's horrifying, and it's like, it's a good bit of classic, scary Doctor Who-ness that is exactly the sort of thing that we should be encouraging. But I think it's one of my favourite Cybermen figures for that reason.
Is there any sort of final thoughts you gents have got in relation to time and experience working on that range at the time?
I would say we didn't get to do some of my favourite creatures.
Go on, list
But
them.
I would never say we'd never get to do them. I'd be 99% certain we wouldn't do them. Things like the Wirren.
Yes.
I would love to have done that, but it's a big lump of plastic, isn't it? And it's not likely to be a
Roto
Well,
body.
we do now.
You say that. I was looking at something to do with the Wirren not that long ago, and I'm the same. I would love to do the Wirren. I'd love to do the Pterolepto and the Pterolepto android.
Yeah.
I think the Pterolepto android is a beautiful creation. I think it is just absolutely lovely. I would have loved to have done that. The Vervoids as well, and the Hemivores, I think, were fabulous as well.
The Hemivores would be a good one.
Yeah. What were some other ones of yours?
I would say the Exelon.
Yes, Bilal.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I always found that a very creepy design.
Really was.
Before I even saw the show, it was in books, Doctor Who, monster books and things. I just thought
Not helped by the music with the.
Interesting instruments played for that story.
The Exelon with Bilal and the Exelons were that's true. They were
even other John Pertwee monsters like the Draconians.
Yeah,
the Ogrons.
The Ogrons and Draconians. I think I've mentioned that previously. They'd be great to see.
People say there's some reasons that we can't do Ogrons. I've never understood a reason why we couldn't, and it's I'd love to do them. The sort of.
I think you've often commented how big they'd have to be. They'd be like a 6-inch range figure.
I think in reality they were played by big blokes in lifted boots, but as an action figure, I'd love to see them as a sort of walloping great 7-foot,
lump,
big ass. There's some dreadful episodes of the Pertwee one where you've got 3 massive Ogrons and like a tiny one that kind of races along after him.
There's one with a chubby guy and he's running along like this.
There's a really good. There's a really fabulous Big Finish audio where there's a version of the Third Doctor as an Ogron, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's absolutely brilliant.
But of course, if you do the Ogron, you've got to do the Ogron Eater.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing. It's like Andrew says. I would like to think we could always, hopefully, do something new. The problem, in some ways, it's quite nice when there's a pause in the program because you've got a little bit of a breather to kind of go back and
catch up
when the program is on air. Right? But that 60-year back catalogue is only ever getting bigger. It's never getting smaller. It's only ever getting bigger.
Very good. Shane, any final thoughts?
No.
That's all good. Well, as I said,
we've had a lot of discussions. We've butted in on each other at times.
My only other thought is, in the same way that B&M has kept, in the same way that B&M has kept Doctor Who alive at retail over the last few years, I think Underground Toys certainly drove a lot of the production of those figures, and there was a whole lot of shenanigans and other issues behind the scenes, but the 2 guys who were involved, one in the US and one in the UK, who both kind of had input into it. I think we can certainly raise a glass to those 2 and sort of say, well, they were the ones that pushed more than anyone to do new. So all those sets that we've just been looking at, all those sets, albeit they were co-produced in a way, they all actually are thanks to those guys, essentially, because this certainly wasn't being driven from our side, because we're a mass market retail toy company, we're a collector company. So if you're going to sort of give anyone a medal for that one, it would be it would be the two sort of underground toys guys.
And just as a little added bonus, as a group, the five of us in the previous had discussed something that we, sticking on the classic Who theme, something coming soon to Who Cave Conversations, is maybe what some people would call a watch-along of a very iconic 5 Doctors. So this is something we've discussed, and obviously with the character theme, coming soon, guys, anyway, we're just discussing what that's going to look like in its final form, but we'll obviously be discussing some of the figures that were released in the vein from that particular story. So with some of the new
ones, still be released because there's lots.
Yeah, and series, you know, just get some more Raston Warrior robots, mate. You can line them all up with your army of Cybermen. So, but yeah, again, yes. So I very much look forward to going back and revisiting the 5 Doctors in our watch-along / discussion about figures. Coming soon. Nothing's been set in concrete yet, but we're just actively discussing what it's going to look like. So look forward to that. So once again, thank you, everyone, and we will see you all next time. So bye for now.
See you guys.
I appreciate it's hard to wrangle the time zones and get all of us together, hence why we've had to record with Ed separately to get everyone in and give us some reminiscence and stuff. So again, I appreciate it. And thanks, Shane, for getting up very nice and early to join us. And thank you for a late evening for the two of you gents for jumping on and having the chat. So
no, it's been good. I always enjoy it. It. Hopefully at some point we'll get to do one of these in person and just sort of
have a cunning plan.
Meet in the middle, there'll be somewhere in Hong Kong, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, no, look, thanks, guys, again. And so bye for now. And like and subscribe. The more of these we get, the better. Again, thanks for your time again, Andrew and Al and Shane. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, gents. Have a good night.
Thanks,
guys. Bye. See you.
See ya.
See ya.